My name is Bill Rhea,
And I'm Delaney Brown.
and today we're doing our sports ethics podcast on sports gambling. So sports gambling becomes public in Ohio January 1st, 2023, and it's going to be easily accessible through casinos, online, and everywhere on our phones. So today we're going to be talking about how that's good and how that's bad.
So the first thing I want to talk about is how gambling is only legal for 21 and up, but I feel like they are advertising to like the young, uneducated people about gambling, which leads to a lot of problems.
Yeah, the problems we're seeing right now is that FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings, and Barstool Sportsbook, they all have promotions going on with these top companies. So like the Pat McAfee show, which is targeted towards young adults. The NFL, which obviously has a lot of young people watching. The MLB, UFC, they're partnered with these sports books right now. And we're seeing Barstool Sportsbook, which is led by a guy named Dave Portnoy. They target middle school to high schoolers, and they have their own sports book literally targeted for teens. And in Ohio, that's going to be a problem.
And it's going to be a problem everywhere because they also kind of false advertise with like showing a lot of the wins but never the losses. But we all know in gambling that you're not winning 100% of the time, so you're going to end up with some financial issues.
Yeah, the thing is that when you're on social media, it likes to pick out things. So like your wins, you'll see on Instagram, this guy won $1 million off a dollar bet. And all of us are probably going to try to do that. But the odds of us hitting that are basically less than 2%, I think.
I would agree with that, which is why, as we know from USA Today, it is leaving people with an average debt of $47,000, which is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and that's a problem because us being college students, we're going to be the ones targeted here because a lot of people over 21 usually go out of states, and if they're going to sports bet, they're going to sports bet. But right now, us college students getting new, acclimated here, we're going to have to try to find ways to gamble because it is promoted to us. I mean, I was driving down the road, State Avenue, in the radio, there's a sportsbook offer. If you go on FanDuel Sportsbook right now and say Ohio, you get like $100 to bet. Obviously it's the radio, and not many people of our age might be doing that. But that's probably going out closer to January 1st. Every person will know that, and kids will be like talking to someone to bet for them with the free $100, which will get them acclimated to gambling, and I'll ultimately get them addicted.
Yeah, which leads, that's the thing, people start gambling as like a fun hobby because they see their friends doing it, but they don't know the consequences that it's going to lead to unless people start talking about it rather than they want to just take your money because it helps them. So I feel like that is a big issue of where what's right and what's wrong, because people who are running these gambling like companies, they know it helps them, but they're not thinking about like the problems it's causing for people who are doing it.
But here's the thing about that, Delaney, is that reading up on this, Global Sports Matters said that taxes taken from these winnings is $1 billion a year industry. All right, University of Michigan Journal of Economics, they said in just 3 years, okay, only 3 years, sports books raked in $5.6 billion and yielded $700 million in tax revenue. Okay, so the taxes that we're getting from this company is really helping. Okay, because when we have these taxes, they're actually benefiting the state of Ohio in itself.
So they're helping the state of Ohio, but here's the thing: those people who are coming in debt, when you don't have like you know how more people, like people with more money pay more taxes. So you're stealing my money and you're getting taxes from me, but then the other taxes that I would pay are now less. So it kind of like balances out where like the taxes you're getting really aren't beneficial.
I mean, you can say that, but what I read about on the Journal of Economics at the University of Michigan, they did a very exclusive research project on. It added over 200,000 jobs for us workers, and it added $11 billion in the pockets of workers, such as me and you. So when we have these job openings, it actually provides opportunity rather than the gamblers who are gambling and losing money, okay? So you got to understand that having jobs out of college is something that would actually benefit college students like us. And we're not even allowed to gamble yet. So not being able to gamble, if we don't find ourselves in that situation, we're actually getting jobs from gambling.
Now, like you said earlier, though, it is going to be super easy to gamble illegally because a lot of it is online. So, though that is like illegal, you can still find yourself in trouble because one friend's doing it, you're like, oh, I might as well join them. So I don't think everybody is gonna not, like, I think more people are gonna find themselves in those issues, which I don't know, I just think it's not as beneficial as it sounds.
Well, let's talk about gambling to the people who are allowed to gamble, okay? So
Well, let's first, if you're getting a job, your starting salary is probably the same amount, if not less, like, as the debt you would be in if you gamble. So,
well, I get the average debt of a gambler is $47,000.
that's a lot. That's a salary.
That's a lot of money. That's the average debt. But you got to think that's the people who are maybe have more money than us, and even if they don't have as much money, they shouldn't be gambling. And that I get that's a problem, but the government has made $300 million for intervention and support programs, and Debt.org said that. But how many, Delaney? How many people actually use these programs?
It would be about 20% because 80% of the people who suffer from gambling never seek help, and that is from recoveryvillage.com. So it serves no purpose having it unless you're going to go out, find these people with the issues, and make sure they're getting the help, or else they don't want to admit they have a problem because it was started out as a fun hobby and they still enjoy doing it, but now it's an addiction that they're unaware of.
Yeah, that's a problem. So, like, when looking at the people who are legally allowed to gamble, they need to seek help if they need help. And I get that's a problem, but also that research is not based off of hobbies. So you got to look at the marginal utility here, because if you go to a Dave & Buster's, right? You go to a Dave & Buster's and you enjoy your time there, and you're going to lose money, okay? Because you're not going to get enough tickets for the actual prizes that they say that they
But
will
you
give
think, but with gambling, you think you always have that chance to win because you do have a chance.
And
It's
that's the
just very
same with
slim.
Dave & Buster's. If you're saying that, Dave & Buster's the same way. But you have fun while gambling. If you have the over on a game that you don't want to watch, you're going to have more fun watching that game, and your marginal utility is going to start out higher. Now, obviously, with time and how marginal utility works, it's going to go lower and lower because you're going to lose more and more. So the hope is that people don't keep gambling if they keep losing. That is the hope, and that is what us sports books are looking for.
But I think that's what they say their hope is, but the way they're advertising it is making it seem that they want people to become addicted because they make it look like eventually you're going to win, which I think they need to advertise it like where it's going to help the gambler rather than their company, which sounds like so not business like, but for an ethical like standpoint, you need to do what's right and get these people out of their troubles and help them not be in a financial issue like problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things is that one of the problems with that aspect of not wanting to lose that these gamblers have the addiction to is something called point shaving. Do you want to talk about point shaving?
Yeah,
real quick?
so on a Netflix documentary called Hoop Schemes, Hedrick Smith, who was one of like the best basketball players on Arizona State. Now this was around like 1945, but he didn't know the consequences that were gonna come. But he came from kind of like poverty, didn't know, like kind of felt he needed to do this to get paid, and needed some money to just like with schooling and stuff like that. So he decided to like team up with a gambler and purposely like lose points, like miss shots, but he's one of the best. And what he found was kind of where he risked his entire career because he probably could have made it to the NBA, but since he was like point shaving, which is illegal.
And why is that illegal? What is point shaving again?
So point shaving is where you kind of like purposely, whether you're not necessarily losing the game, but you're purposely making mistakes to make a game closer than it should be, or even lose a game if that's what somebody that you know is like betting on, and it's just throws off other people's bets, and it's illegal for that reason. But going back to where he risked everything, where he could have been in the NBA and earned even more money than what he was getting then, he didn't know. He was uneducated. He was told he would just be getting money for doing something. And what college student's going to turn down money?
That's what we're seeing here at the University of Mount Union. I'm not going to talk bad about them, but they're a private institution and there's a lot of money involved when going to a place like this. Now, if you're a student here on an there's no athletic scholarships here. So it's a big problem here because those athletes might say, you know what, this person's offering me this much money. I want to have that money because I'm not going to get caught. I mean, I'm an okay player, so if I make a couple more turnovers and hit my over on turnovers, then I'll just make a few extra bucks. But the problem with that is that that's illegal. I mean, and it's very easy to do and not get caught, but at the same time, you'll get addicted to doing it. If I did it once, I don't think I would get caught. They would think it was a bad game. But you say the first time that was easy money, the second time was easy money, the third time is where it's really going to get you. And college students, especially myself, need money. We're looking for jobs all the time. And that's an easy way to not have to have a job and make money, but also in a bad way.
Well, I think what will help, like keeping point shaving like away from student athletes, is like NIL deals, and even some like being paid for like their merch or like however that works that they're starting to do, which is like good, but still like for Division III, that's more difficult and tougher to even get those types of deals because you're not as popular. But I think that's point shaving I don't think is one of the biggest issues, but it's still going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's a reason. There's a reason for it to be an issue for Division III teams like us. We are a Division III team in football that always wins, and we're expected to win. And certain NFL scouts come here as a thing, but there's no one going to be in the NFL most likely. There's been Cecil Shorts and Pierre Garçon, but most likely our student athletes here are here to be students first. And with them being athletes, they also can't get jobs as much. So an easy way to make money is point shaving, and that's going to be a problem probably within Ohio in the next coming years because no one's going to want to not take this opportunity.
And it's new. It's something that nobody really knows about because it doesn't happen very often. So someone who is a big gambler can come in and be like, hey, just a couple like turnovers. You don't have to lose the game. Just make it like close. It will be even more enjoyable for people watching. And then these players are gonna be like, okay, like you keep paying me. That's like who's not going to take that. But I think another issue is how with gambling, like crime is gonna go up.
I mean, crime's obviously going to go up. We talked about underage gamblers. We talked about point shaving. You also got to realize that games will be probably a little bit under a microscope in the next coming years. There's going to be rigging of games. And there's also going to be lots of people on different sports books saying, like, if you just pay here and gamble, here's free money, but then they take your money. That's what's going to happen. There's already sports books like that because they're not actual sports books. What they do is they say, even if you're in Ohio, you can gamble $1 on this thing that's going to hit, and you'll get 100. So you put in your credit card information, and boom. They have your credit card information. They're not even an actual sports book. You got scammed. So that's going to we're going to have to be on watch for all these college students and all these people in the state of Ohio because there's going to be the crime rate's going to go up, maybe slightly, maybe a lot. We do not know, and that's one of the things about introducing new laws.
I found from recoveryvillage.com that more than 2/3 of compulsive gamblers report committing crimes directly related to gambling. So think, like, these are just the people like actually admitting to their like fall and downfall. So it's probably honestly higher than this. And now if gambling is going to become legal in more states, this is almost guaranteed that it's going to become a bigger issue with like our society.
Yeah, and it's easily accessible, as we said earlier, on our phones. We can be walking. I can be walking from where I am now to the Mac, and I can gamble $1 million within that time. It's that easy. It's that simple, and it's that easy to make a phone call to a loan shark or something to get you to gamble and just break the law like that. And it's gonna get some people in trouble, and that's the risk. That's why it took so long for it to happen. But one of the pros is that fun aspect, and is the taxes raised and the jobs raised. So is it worth it? Ohio thinks yes, and I also think yes, because when, in a sense, you expect people not to commit a crime. And one of the things about sports ethics, and one of the things that we're seeing, is that certain people do things that aren't characteristic of a normal human being. I mean, Kyrie Irving with his stuff and Brett Favre, but we expect those people not to. And that's my hope, is that people don't. But obviously, with the statistics shown here, that people will.
I think gambling almost changes a person, and they become desperate. When you're in debt, you have no other option. You kind of feel like your only solution is to make up for what you did and commit crimes, which is so wrong. But that's why I think I don't necessarily say like don't like gamble, don't allow it. I just think educate the people, make it maybe a little more difficult to like get access to, and make it more time consuming, so that people who really do enjoy it are going to put the time in. But like college students who just want the money and just like kind of want to hang out with their friends, they should not be doing that.
Well, it was a good talk, and thank you. In conclusion, I mean, the money that is made, the jobs that is made, the taxes, and just the overall hobby is going to be a welcome addition to Ohio. But there's definitely problems with the promotion to young adults, the point shaving problem, and overall crime going up. So these are why it's a problem, and we'll see if the problems outweigh the pros. But right now, it's just a waiting game, and we'll
Time
see you
will
on
tell.
January 1st.
Yes.
Thank you.